All right, guys, so here we are. This is going to be the walkthrough of the first little assignment that we're going to do with our pixel art here, just to get an understanding of how it works. I've done the other demos talking about how all the tools work. If you have a question along the way, then you can reference those. My hope is that I've done a decent job of outlining those kind of specific things in the specific videos, but also in the overview, just giving you guys a general idea of how the tools work along the way. So again, you've gone to pixelart.com, Pixil art.com. Once you get there, you're going to go to Start Drawing. Again, we're not concerned at all with the created account thing, unless for some reason you have, a desire to want to pursue this outside of this. I understand it's maybe not everybody's preferred method to create artwork, but like I said, we're at a disadvantage here, we're at a distance. There's not a way that we can communicate and create artwork that's of reasonable quality when you're not here. Okay, so now we're going to go to Start Drawing. After we've gone to Start Drawing, you guys are going to come to a page like this probably if you have not used this before. If you have used it before, just make sure you hit New Drawing whenever you get there. Again, we're making sure that our width and height are set to 100 by 100, and then clicking New Drawing, and then click OK. And it should be totally empty after that, right? So now our first animation here is going to be a growing face, is what I'm going to call this animation. Now this is pretty straightforward after you understand how the tools work, but I'm going to go through this step by step. I'm not going to go into that much detail explaining how all the individual tools work, because I explained that in a different video. So hopefully this will kind of teach you the basics of animation, but it'll also teach you the basics of how all these tools operate and work together, just making your life a little bit easier. If it works for you, you can try to pull this over here into a separate window or something, and that way you can kind of follow along as you're going through this on your own software. Feel free to pause the video along the way, just to make your life easier, that we can follow this step by step. Again, the whole goal of this is to teach you guys how everything works before we step up to our other assignments a little bit later on, as we make things more polished as the 9 weeks progresses. So first thing is our growing face animation. So for what I'm going to start off with first, just keeping it simple. Imagine that we're making an emoji or just a smiley face just in general. So I'm starting off with my circle tool like this. I'm then going to click and drag and make a reasonably sized circle. I don't want it to be too big. I don't want it to be too small. This is too small. This is too big. It doesn't give us enough room for it to be able to grow as time progresses. So the next thing that we need to do, just to make sure that our circle is centered, if our circle is not centered, then it's going to slide and slip around. So we are going to go over here on the right-hand side of the screen. You guys will see my cursor moving around. We are going to go to Options, I believe. Yep, so we're going to go to Options here. After we've clicked Options, again, I'm over here. I'm clicking this Options. You'll notice underneath the pixel size thing here, which we talked about in the other demo, there is a thing that says layer align. Now, you guys may have messed with this before whenever you were, well, not this one specifically, but messed with it before whenever you guys are messing with Google Docs, aligning your text, things like that. So you'll notice it says align left if I hover, align top, align center, align bottom, align right. So if I click those things, you guys will notice how this moves around. Now, we don't want ours to be moving and jittering around along the way. We're going to click align center. Now, after we click align center, we're going to add a few more frames to this, just starting off. So down here, so again, my mouse is over here in the bottom left-hand corner, hovering over this, where it says GIF frames. I'm going to click Add Frame. So like I said, in the other demo, this is a ghosted version of the frame that came before it, just showing us where things were sitting at in our previous frame. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm again still using the circle tool. I'm going to click and drag a slightly larger circle like this. So you'll notice that it's off center. I haven't put any colors in the background. I haven't put any colors on top of it or anything. I'm then going to come back over here to the right and click Align Center. When I click that, you'll notice now it's centered up, and we have frame 1 and we have frame 2. If I was to hit preview right now, like we did in the previous demo, you'll notice it's cycling between frame 1 and 2. It looks like it's pulsing a little bit, just hopping back and forth between those two little frames there. So we want to have 4 frames of our animation progressively getting larger as we go along. So I'm going to click Add Frame. So I have frame 1, which is the smallest circle, then a little bit larger, then a little bit larger. So right here, I don't have a circle yet. So I'm going to click and drag a slightly larger circle. Again, you're noticing that it's not on center. So again, underneath the Options tab, I'm going to go to where it says Layer Align, and I'm going to click Align Center. Now again, if I go here, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, if I click Preview, now we now have 3 frames. Everything's slowed down a little bit. So it should be becoming a little bit more fluid. But like I said, we still need 4 frames. So I go down here where it says GIF frames once again. I'm going to click Add Frame. And I'm going to make one more circle that's a little bit larger. So I have the circle tool. I'm going to click and drag, so a little bit bigger. And then over here again on the right hand side with the options tab selected where it says layer align right here. So I'll give you a moment. My cursor is over here on the right hand side. You guys will notice all this little stuff popping up. We want to click align center. So now I've done that. So I have frame 1, I have frame 2, I have frame 3, and I have frame 4. So getting progressively bigger, right? If I hit preview, you'll notice how it's getting bigger and just shrinking back down to the smallest size. The next thing we want to do is we want to add some eyes to our piece. Now, the easiest way to add eyes, again, do not add color yet until you know where you want to put everything. So out here in this area, I'm going to draw my eye. So I'm going to take a circle and make it a reasonable size, look pretty decent with the size of this circle. Now, we talked about how to use the select tool. So I don't have to sit here and redraw this stuff over and over again. I'm going to click the select tool. I'm then going to click and drag around that, right? We talked about how that worked. Click and drag around something. And then we have these little options over here. It says cut, it says paste, it says copy. So I'm going to click copy. Then I'm going to click and drag again with my select tool. And I'm going to hit paste, which is that second option there. So now I have two eyes like this. So then I'm going to make the interior parts of the eye, so the little pupil. So with a smaller circle out here. So I'm going to make it about that size. And I'm going to, again, select my select tool, click and drag. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to click and drag again, hit paste. And I'm going to move these so they are centered inside this eye. So I need to select around that, right, and move it. I haven't put any colors in this yet. Now that I've done that, let's deselect both of those. I'm going to click and drag with my select tool around that, right? I have it selected. I don't have anything clicked right now. I'm then going to click on top of that. I'm going to move these so that those eyes are right there in the middle part of that face. Next thing, we're going to make a mouth. So for the very first stage of this animation, we're going to make the mouth a nice straight line. There's no reason to make it more complex than it needs to be. Just keep it simple right now. If you want to add extra features and stuff to make your work have a little bit more pizzazz and personality at the end, that's all up to you. But for our cases, I'm just trying to keep this simple because we're at a distance. I'm not there to be able to give you direct feedback along the way. So the next thing we need to do is we have our first frame set up. We're going to go down here to where it says GIF frames, right? And we're going to click frame 2. I'm then going to do the exact same thing. So you guys will notice that I have my eyes here. I can see them, but I don't want them to be the same size. I want to be a little bit bigger. So let's get our circle tool, make sure we're on frame 2, make the eyes a little larger. And again, click and drag around this. We are going to hit copy. Then we're going to click and drag again, and we're going to hit paste. So now I have two that are that size, right? So I can see where my eyes were at in the frame before this. So let's just use our select tool, and let's kind of line them up in they're reasonably the same spot, but make them a little bit larger this time. So then we're going to have another circle, again, a slightly larger than last time. So again, using my select tool, clicking and dragging around them, I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to click and drag again. I'm going to hit paste. So, and then I'm going to move this where I want them. Now we're making ourselves very familiar with the select tool. The reason why we want to make ourselves very familiar with this along the way is, again, because it makes animating things easier for us. And it also just makes our life much easier. We can copy and paste things. So I can see where my mouth is, right? What I want you to do is go in from the same spot of that mouth, or maybe a little bit lower. Again, we're just keeping this simple. I'm just using my line tool to draw a simple mouth by clicking and dragging like this. So it's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but it's working for me. Okay, so I have frame 1, I have frame 2, and now we're going to frame 3. So guess what? We're doing the exact same thing this time. So making a circle that's slightly bigger. Then I'm going to take my select tool. I'm going to click and drag around that. I'm going to hit copy, click and drag again. I'm going to hit paste. So by the time this is over with, you should be very familiar with how the select tool works. If you're really confused and you're getting behind, you can always pause the video and go back to other portions of it along the way and kind of get your bearings in that way in hopes that that'll kind of get you right on the right track here. So I'm just doing what I did before, copying and pasting around things and selecting things and just lining things up. So I've got my eyes set up here. I'm then going to, again, I can see where my mouth is. I'm maybe going to move it down a little bit this time. But again, this ghosted version is just what came before it. So let's make this mouth a little bit more smiley. Maybe for me, I'm going to use my line tool, like I said, and I'm going to make the mouth a little bit open. So things are looking a little crazy. He's looking a little crazed here, but that's okay. You know, not everybody is totally all put together all the time. So he's, you know, he's totally neutral here in frame 2. He's a little bit more smiley. In frame 3, he's got his mouth open. So again, we still have not added any color to this yet. And I think you're noticing why we're doing that, because I can see all this stuff through this. If I was to go in here and make this all yellow first, boom, I can't see anything. So I've done myself a disservice and making it a lot harder on myself than it needs to be. So let's make it a little bit larger here. So let's make it, again, I'm making my eye out here. And again, I'm going to take my select tool over here. I'm clicking and dragging. I'm clicking copy. I'm clicking and dragging. I'm hitting paste. And let's put those eyes right in about that same spot, just like that. That way they look really, you know, they don't look perfect, but they are, they're good enough for us, right? Nothing has to be perfect. Just giving it your best shot. That's what art's all about, making progress by giving things your best shot. Even I, as an artist, somebody who draws and paints and does pixel art stuff pretty frequently, I'm often not the most happy with my work, but it's always a step in the right direction. You're always learning something, even from your little mistakes along the way. So, you know, I'm still clicking and dragging using my select tool and pasting things in there, right? All right, so we got our eyes all lined up. Now, they look pretty crazy looking, but that's okay. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want to make them look like squinted or whatever, that's up to you. You have a personality. You want to put your personality into the artwork. That's what art's about, expressing yourself. When you get to express yourself, that's where the fun comes. If everybody looks the exact same, then what fun is that? Everybody, you know, it's just a bunch of robotic clones of each other, and we don't want to have that. We want to have some personality of you in there. So again, I'm still using my line tool to create this mouth, right? So he looks a little more sane this time. But so now I've got frame 1, right? I've got frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, and maybe you want to spend more time polishing everything up along the way. I'm obviously in a little bit of a rush here because I'm trying to fill everything in and not make this video too long, so I'm not, you know, wasting too much of your time. So I've got everything where I want it. I'm now going to come back in here with my bucket tool. Just for, you know, to keep it generic, I'm going to make mine yellow. You can make yours green, you can make it blue, you can make it whatever. My only suggestion to you is that you do not make it black. The reason why is because our lines are black, and it will just make it harder on you to see your details and that kind of stuff along the way. Remember, if you mess up, there's always an undo button up here that'll let you undo whatever step that you've done recently. So maybe the inside of my eyes, I'm going to make those guys black. I'm just going to each individual frame and making those little adjustments, right? Taking it a step at a time. There's no reason for me to make things more complex and try to add shading here at the very beginning, and not even have an expectation that you guys are adding shading to your work. This assignment is just to get our understanding and get our bearings and understand how everything works. So, you know, make sure that you are doing what you can to make it look nice. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, sometimes cool things happen whenever it's not perfect. Little weird things happen. So like you see, I messed up there. I made the eye white by accident. So remember, you can zoom in. If you're having trouble, zoom in, make some changes that way, and then zoom back out. There's no reason to make it harder on yourself trying to figure out where you want to click, what you want to click, and all that kind of stuff along the way. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to click, make these white. So now let's look at this. So I have frame 1, I've got frame 2, I've got frame 3, and I've got frame 4. Let's make the inside of his mouth red. I'm just going to make mine red just because mine looks kind of like a Muppet. He looks kind of creepy and kind of goofy looking, but that's okay. Also, sometimes you're going to have little areas that are blocked off by pixels. Just make sure you get in there and clean those areas up. So I have frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4. So if I preview this now, right down here where it says give frames, I'm hitting preview, you'll notice we have a very insane looking guy coming straight at us, right, with his mouth open. Now you want to make him get smaller again. Right now he's just getting bigger. It's just kind of going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then zipping back to the first frame. Let's just shrinking all of a sudden. We want him to slowly shrink back down. Now, the easiest way for us to do that is if we will go to not this 4th frame, because we don't want to have 2 frames in a row. If I was to copy this frame, right, I have 2 of these frames back to back. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is instead of copying frame 4, I'm going to copy frame 3. Now, whenever I copy this frame, right, copy it, I have frame 1, 2, 2 3s in a row, but obviously that's title 4 and then 5. With this frame selected, since I have these 2 guys both in a row, right, I'm going to use my move frame tool. I'm going to move that to the end. So now I have, it getting bigger. This is the end of my animation before, and now it's getting a little smaller again. So let's go to the next smallest frame up here, which was 2. Going to copy that. So again, these frame 2 and 3 are the same size. And let's take one of these guys and let's move him to the very end here. So we moved him to the end. Now, you may wonder, are we going to do frame 1? The answer is no. So you have to think about the sequence of what's happening here in our animation. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and it's going back to 1. So it's going 3, 2, 1. If we copy this one and move it to the end, right? If I copied this frame and I put it all the way at the end, I'm now going 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. I don't want 2 ones back to back, so let's keep it this way. So you're gonna have 6 frames when it's all said and done with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and back to 1. Now, if I hit preview, you guys will notice how it gets bigger and smaller, like it's pulsing. And that didn't take this much time or that much effort for us to be able to make those things happen. Like I said, if you guys have a computer mouse and you want to do that, then that's all fine and dandy. So that's all set up, right? Now, maybe you want to put a color in the background. So let's say for me, I'm going to make mine green, or this tealish green color, I should say, for anybody who's, skeptical of me calling it green out there. So that's green. Again, I'm just using my bucket tool. All my shapes should be blocked off and filled in, right? It should be all nice and neat. So now I've made all the background green in all of them. So again, I'm waiting to add color till the very end. So now we've got a nice green, tealish colored background looking nice and sharp. Now, you're welcome to change the color in each one, right? Maybe you want to have multiple colors in the background, but I'm not going to do that on here because I don't want to blow your eyes out of your sockets by changing the color in every single one of these. So for me, it's going to be just like this. This is your very first assignment, just to understand how, after you understand how the tools work, to kind of put them into use and just make something simple like this. Maybe you want to come in here and you want to add at the very end, you want to have you get this and it makes total sense to you and you have, plenty of time to spend because you're out of school. Maybe as things get bigger, right, we want to have maybe the tongue come out or something. Again, adding your own personal flair to it. It's whatever you do to it, it's up to you, but just do your best to make it look nice and neat. Like I said, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage here. So, maybe for me, I have a little bit of tongue sticking out like that. Like it looks like a little, I don't know, some kind of strange doggy mouth or something. I don't know. Let's add another little tongue coming out of this mouth. Look a little bit bigger this time because the mouth's gotten a little bit bigger. So let's make this a little bit wider for us, right? And obviously, I'm gonna have the tongue showing more here. So let us fix this here. So then I'm going to get some of this red. I'm going to put it in here, but I don't want that doubled up line. So let's toss this out the window. So I got the tongue, look like it's coming out of the mouth, right? It looks a little goofy, but that's okay. It's not meant to be totally serious. And then maybe, I want the tongue to be really down here in this one. So you don't have to do this tongue thing. I'm only requesting that you do the very basic version that I showed you just before this. I understand that you guys have things that you want to do. You have things that are, you have the opportunity to do them here with all the free time that you got. But my ask is that you, at least take the time to make your work of reasonable quality whenever you are working on this kind of thing. So let's say here, I'm going to, make the tongue be a little smaller because I'm getting smaller again. And let's make that tongue go right back up inside the mouth. So let's get a little bit of red here and fill that in. I think in the one before this, I had the tongue a little bit higher. So let's do that. Okay, so that's there and that's there. Tongue's going back into the mouth here. All right, and we have another little bit sticking out, just like this. So a little bit. I don't want the tongue to be too big this time. Again, I'm not requiring you guys to do this, so don't sweat it if you're really just, whatever. But if this makes total sense to you, and you have the time, and you want to really learn how to understand and use this software, then it helps you with other digital softwares later on. So let's preview this now and see how my tongue looks. There we go. So his tongue's coming out, and it's going in and out. All right. So let's say I'm all good. I'm ready to submit this to Mr. Hilton. So I talked about how to submit and save your work in a separate video, but I'm just going to show you again right now. So you get an understanding of how that works. So we're going to go to Save Drawing. It's all finished. I'm ready to download it. So I'm going to go over here, go to Save Drawing, and click Download. Well, before we do that, let's not do that. I want to show you how to save your work if it's not finished. So if your work is not finished, go to Save As.pixel, and you'll notice a little box comes up here. Maybe you want to save this as face. There's a whole separate video about how to reopen your work if you want to watch that and you don't know how to do that, then watch that video and it'll help you a lot. So I want to save it as face. If we want to save it as a finished animation, instead of clicking save as .pixel, we're going to click download .png.gif. Now, our only concern again is GIF download. Go to size. Always make this 500 by 500 for me. I'm not worried about frames. I'm not worried about layers. I'm not worried about upload drawing. I'm only worried about this and that this says 500 by 500. When you click download, a percentage will come up and it'll download in your Google Drive. There's a whole separate video about how to submit your work. So if you would watch that and submit your work for me, it will make your life easier and my life easier as well. Okie dokie. That's that one. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and